some of your best days trading have generated how much a day?
Well, my first big day was $1,368. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I broke 1,000 in a day. What?
Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, a Wealthy Investor, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Wealthy Investor TV. You know, you get to meet a lot of successful traders and investors on the show. And tonight, we're going to talk about not only how much money you can make trading, but also the inner work that some people have to go through in order to get to that next level of financial success. My guest tonight is Carrie Kiernan. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wow. You're so busy, but yet you will come and take time out of your schedule and be on Wealthy Investor TV.
Absolutely. I love talking about stocks.
Well, thank you very much. Now, we're going to get into trading and investing and this inner process that you've gone through to achieve the success that you have. But some people are looking at you saying, she looks familiar. Or at least she sounds familiar. A lot of people know you from the work that you do in Japanese animation or just animation across the board?
Animation across the board. Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. I've been working for over 10 years and had shows on like Nickelodeon, Nick Jr. I have a bunch that are on Netflix right now and commercials. I've done a ton of national commercials in my career. So
I'm sitting at home and you pop up on TV.
yeah, it's like I sneak up on you.
Yeah, there you go. 1:30. I'm like, is that? Wow. And it's you.
Social media is so fun because now I get the random like notes on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook being like, I just saw you in my living room.
Yes. Well, listen, you're an inspiration to everybody and you're just a ray of sunshine.
Oh.
Now, let's get into your experience as a trader and an investor in the stock market. And a lot of people think, well, you're doing well in TV and animation. Why are you trading in the stock market? So I'm going to start off asking that. Like, your career is doing okay. Why are you trading and investing?
Because I was tired of this idea of like the up and down. And when I finally was like really in the black and I was doing good, I was like, there's got to be a way for my money to work for me and make money for me so that I'm not dependent for the rest of my life on this idea of someone decides I'm the right person. They're like, oh yeah, I like her. And I just felt like I wanted more freedom and more security and more just dominion over my life. And I said, there's got to be another way. And then a friend of mine was a part of your program in New York. And I was talking to her about this. And she's like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could see why that's for you, but that's not really for me. Like, And she was like, well, no, I think you'd really like it. And I was like, meh. And then like 3 months later, after she keeps talking to me about it, she sent me an email for an open class. And I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I should just go see because maybe I don't know. And so then I showed up.
Now, this is interesting because there are millionaires in your family.
Yeah.
Who were created from the stock market at a time when we didn't have the internet. Your grandfather became a millionaire.
Yep.
Your grand uncle, essentially, your grandfather's brother, right?
Yeah.
And then you have another uncle who's also made himself a millionaire, trading and investing in the stock market.
Yeah.
So when you first became familiar with that opportunity, it just didn't say, "Oh my God, I've got to do that. That's what I've been waiting for."
You know, it's funny. I actually feel like that my family history was part of what was problematic for me because though I've seen wealth in my family, two of these gentlemen are like straight up hermits. One of them's still alive, so I'm going to be nice. But they're like straight up hermits. Like they don't leave the house, no people around. And then the other one, he was kind of controlling about his money. Like said he would pay for my college education. My parents didn't have to worry about it. And then, 2 months before I was supposed to go to college, decided that he didn't like that I was studying Japanese as my language and decided he wasn't giving them any money. So, I mean, my parents were able to afford it and take care of it and stuff, but it was just like money only came, like if you took his money, you had to then like live your life in every way the way he wanted. So there was something very early on in my life that felt like you couldn't have wealth and relationships.
Right. I hear this a lot because a lot of people think when you're a teacher teaching other people how to trade and invest, it's just like click this, buy this, and sell that. And there really is a psychology behind why people become successful in the stock market. And one of the things I hear all the time is because people who have money are mean and controlling, and I don't want to be that. And you feel like that was part of the messages that you perceived.
Yeah. And I thought that I just didn't know what it was like to be wealthy and like happy and like joyful. And so this idea that you could either have a life that was full of happiness, joy, friendship, love, family, or you could be wealthy. It was very clear to me that I would give up wealth, to have relationships and connections.
Right.
And I think there is a lot in our society that likes to tell, especially in our entertainment and our drama, we like to have the villains, and the villains it's always about like money. And I do think that greed is a real thing and it's a real problem. But greed and wealth aren't the same thing.
Right. That
is
correct.
And I think that is the biggest journey that I went on, that greed and wealth weren't the same thing. I was really worried that if I made a lot of money, suddenly like I would become a bad person. Like I would become mean and like curmudgeony and I was afraid that like that was somewhere in me and I was just going to become this terrible person. And so I was worried about that.
There's really an inner narrative. And it was so funny because I started trading and investing about, well over 20 years ago. And that was something.
You don't look a day over 50.
Well, I still look good, baby.
I'm
still holding it together up here. But that was one of the things that I thought is if I wound up making a lot of money as a trader, I would be evil, demanding, and selfish.
Yes.
And ultimately what I realized was that money is neutral, right? Mm-hmm. Because I knew some people who were broke, who were evil, selfish, and demanding, right? The money didn't make, all money does is amplify who you really are in the end.
But I think I was afraid that maybe inside I wasn't who I thought I was, that because I had this idea that, well, like once you got the money, you would suddenly like start being like, well, people have to behave a certain way because then you become like a different person. And now I'm a wealthy person. I have different values and
And when you start making a lot of money, does your voice change? Does that happen?
Yeah.
Now I'm wealthy. And I speak like this.
Yeah. I was afraid it might,
Right. And, those are just fears.
Yeah.
And you've been really successful in the market as a trader.
Yes.
So as you started, making more and more money, what happened to you? Did you become a freer person? Have you become more generous? Tell us about that aspect of your journey.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm such a better person. I feel like all the best qualities of me have just like amplified. And I feel like I'm able to be gracious and generous and hospitable and just so much more like so full of grace in the world now that I have that sense of like safety and security. Not at first, it was amazing that I felt like I could take care of myself and be like, I can pay my rent and I can pay my bills, with this and not have to worry. And now it's like I can help other people, and I can either by showing them what I did so that they can do it for themselves, or by literally helping them out when like someone's in a jam, because sometimes things, just go sideways for us in our lives, and being able to show up for my friends in that way. And being able, like when my last roommate moved out, I was like, I can keep this 2-bedroom myself now. I can afford it. And now I have a place if people come in town to visit, or friends are coming in for work or for pilot season or to take meetings. Like I can give them like a home and a space to like be and feel comfortable and safe so they can have their best visit, It just like, it makes me feel like my heart is so much more available in the world. And I feel like, and it feels funny that like I was ever worried that I'd turn into like a mean curmudgeon, because it's like so the opposite.
Well, you're naturally a generous person anyway. So now that you have financial security in your life, you just play that out. And I think, that's one of the things that we find along the process.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of people go through that transformation. And that's why I'm such a champion of people getting a financial education, because you can transform your life in ways you didn't expect.
Yes, because it's not even just about money, not even in the category of the money. All the changes that I've had about this like generosity and this joy have gone into every category of my life, my relationships, my work, my daily life, my exercise, my health and wellness. Like it's not just that you improve your financial part of your piece of the pie. You know what I mean? Like your whole life changes. It just spills into like every aspect.
Now, you've been having some fantastic days. Some of your best days trading have generated how much a day?
Well, my first big day was $1,368. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I broke 1,000 in a day. What? And then I broke 1,000 again in a day. And then I broke 1,000 again. And then now I'm breaking 1,000 in a day more than once a month. And then now it's like every other week. And then it just keeps happening. So I feel like for me, the growth I've really seen, not in this idea that like, oh, I crushed it on this one single payday, but that I have just consistently been able to like rely on myself and the market and my training to like consistently bring in a higher level of income. And then we always talk about having an income target and then raising that target and hitting that target. And I'm like, oh, if I can do this over the last 6 months, then where I can be 6 months from now and a year from now is like, oh my God, like, that's super exciting to me.
So it's exciting. Some people describe it as very impactful. They see a different future for themselves.
Oh my God.
What happens for you experientially now?
Tyrone, I couldn't see a future for myself. To be totally honest, I feel like in the entertainment industry, I think that I have gotten so used to being in the pursuit, that I forgot where I was planning on arriving. Like, what was arriving supposed to look like? Here I am. I'm in LA. I've been supporting myself as an actor for almost 10 years now. But, like, why don't I feel like I've arrived? Like, what does that even look like? And, sometimes we talk about, like, financial visions or future. Or, like, some of the people on your podcast will talk about that. What do you want? Just write down your goals. And I'll be like, you're like, go crazy, just write whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I buy a pair of shoes. Like, I literally could not conceive of what a future could look like. And now my goal this year is to have a down payment for my first piece of property by the end of the year. And I would never have even conceived of that as like, even like in this line of reality for myself. And so it's just like, I surprise myself with how much it's changed.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I find that most people who are very successful traders trade better when they have a goal. Right?
Yes.
Because now you're not chasing every stock in the stock market. You're saying, does this stock that I am trading, cover call writing, volatility trade, is this going to help me get that down payment, for example?
Yes, and because especially when you're sitting down and you have to pick a stock at a strike, and you have to on a date, and it's just like you have all these options to choose from. How do you select? And it's like, it's very clear, like, this is my monthly target. Where am I? How much cash do I have? Where am I at with my margin? I know where I'm at. I know how much money I need to make. And so you're like, oh, well, then I clearly trade this. And you get to like, without an income target, there's just too many options. It's like you can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you can't decide which jar of jelly to open. You know what I mean? If there's 7 jars of jelly and you're like, I can't decide, then you're never going to have that sandwich.
Right.
So you have to have like that was a weird metaphor.
I'm totally going with you.
My mom has a lot of jellies to choose from.
Well, when I started teaching the stock market, I was using a lot of baking metaphors. Like, even still when I'm teaching, I was just kind of it's like baking a cake every day. People are like, what? I'm like, forget that. Also, I find, when I teach at the live events, I talk a lot about dating.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Because it's just sometimes people feel intimidated by the math. But if I say, is this stock a good date? People say, yes.
Mm-hmm. Because in the end, it comes down to your feeling. Mm-hmm. And I know that one of the things you always say is wealth is a feeling first.
Yes, it is.
And when I placed my first trade, like on the phone with someone else in the class, in a flop sweat, like what, click what, When I first placed that first trade, I didn't feel good. I felt like, oh my God, what did I just do? I'm in my pajamas. I just made $355 sitting in my pajamas at home. I thought someone's going to knock on the door and be like, who do you think you are? And so I was like, oh, I don't have a good feeling about wealth. And I think that's really what kicked off my first 6 to 8 months in your program was really dealing with that belief system and kind of my family past and all these kinds of like this internal game.
And that is such a big part of the process.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to make fast money in the stock market, but they don't want to have to work on their inside to receive all of these blessings and all of these really great things. And you've really done that work.
Yeah, because if you don't start to change what's happening up here, then even if you make the money, like then you'll just lose it. Mm-hmm. And so you'll find some way to like you spend it in your life. You know what I mean? To keep yourself at that level. So if you don't like start to become aware of like what you're trading and why and how you feel about it, it's going to be different. And so I think that to go back to what you're saying about the dating, it connects you to an idea of like, well, how do you feel? Because when we're dating someone, we're around people, we know how we feel about them. Like we can get blinded by how we feel about them. And so then when you start to know like, oh, this is how I feel about this stock, how I feel. Oh, you know what? Wow, yeah, a dividend. dividend makes me feel good, makes me feel
Yes.
safe, makes me feel comfortable. Like, ooh, volatility. Ooh, I don't know. That feels like $7 moves up and down in a given day. Ooh, that makes me feel nervous. I don't like that day. Like you get a sense of it, or you start to feel like, oh yeah, you're up 7, you're down 7, you're gonna come back 7. It's no problem. Like you start to like really connect to that feeling, and I think that's the real first step to getting into your beliefs. You know what I mean? Because once you can start to recognize how you feel about things, then you can start to understand how you think about them.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because I have found, like, certain traders say, don't get caught up emotionally in certain stocks, right? But your feeling, there is a place for feelings, emotions while you're trading. So, for example, I know for me as a trader, buying X amount of shares, and for those of us who trade options, that doesn't feel good. If I'm going to buy 2,000 shares of something and 30 contracts, let's say, of a leaps option, I feel that is too much invested in one particular stock.
Probably.
Right. And my risk tolerance, for me, that doesn't suit my risk tolerance. So there is a place for letting your feelings be your guide.
Yes. And then I also have found that like there's definitely an opportunity. Like I also at one point was like really irrationally afraid of margin because I didn't really like understand. I felt like I was borrowing someone, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I felt like I could get in trouble or something. I had a lot of like irrational fear about it. And then I made like a clerical error on my phone, and then bought like more shares than I expected to of MasterCards. It's MasterCard. Who cares? Like, I'm not worried. It's MasterCard,
Oh, I remember when you did that.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, and I was like, whoopsie.
Right.
But it all of a sudden bumped me up in the terms of the numbers of contracts I was selling.
Well, this is in the option or on the stock side?
This is the stock side.
Okay.
This is on the stock side.
Right.
And so, but it bumped me into up to like 7 contracts from 4.
Right.
And it put me just a little bit in my margin.
Right.
And so.
Did you sell calls against those shares?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so then you really saw the impact of. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Oh, yes. But I was afraid to like up my contracts, and I was afraid of margins. So my fear was kind of keeping me level. And then I made that clerical error. And next thing you know, I was like up to 7 contracts, and I was like, oh wait, you make more money with more contracts.
You sure do. And listen, you were in an S&P component that has strong earnings.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You were
but that's
in a
the
safe
thing.
place.
And what I also love about like the way we trade also is that there's a very specific discipline. So you sort of there's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So you just keep going back to the same thing, and you just keep practicing it. So you can really test how you feel, because the basic paradigm never changes. You know what I mean? How you test whether or not it's a good date. And then once you're going to do like the steps you go through for the process, it's always the same. So you can kind of like really watch your emotions, because you're always responding to the same scenario. But of course, in the MasterCard scenario, I came in, I was like, you guys, I did it. And I was so like upset. And one of the other people, she was like, you don't know how this played out yet. You're just going to be fine. You're maybe like over,
a little too
much in one thing
Yes.
or whatever. But we never trade anything we don't want to own.
That is correct.
You know what I mean? So I wouldn't even be, I can't accidentally buy into a bad stock, because I would never even be dealing with a bad stock.
You just had more of a really good
right,
stock.
Exactly.
Right,
than I expected,
Hey, when we come back after the break, I want to talk to you about a couple of other things, because there are, women are going to live, generally speaking, longer than their male counterparts, so therefore they'll need more money.
Yeah.
I want you to speak to that right after the break. Is that a fair deal?
Please.
Okay. Today, we're talking about feelings and emotions, and we're talking with Carrie Kiernan, and we have more for you right after you take a look at this. Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, and I know something about you. You're always wondering what stock should you trade and what stock should you invest in. That's why you can follow my trades every single week at witradeschool.com. You see, at WI Trade School, I help people just like you make money in the stock market. Whether the market goes up, goes down, or stay the same. And one of the benefits of becoming a WI Trade School member is I'll answer your trading questions every single week in my video blog. Now, the best thing about WI Trade School, you have access to it 24 hours a day as long as you have an internet connection. So log on to witradeschool.com or click below, and I'll see you there. It's time for me to help you make money in the stock market right now. And we're back. Now, in this episode, we're talking to Karen, about feelings, emotions, fear, a millionaire mindset, just the inner process. I asked you before we went to commercial about being a woman who's trading. Women will live longer than their male counterparts. That means you're going to need more money than, let's say, me. How important is it to learn how to handle your money and your investments as a woman, insofar as you're concerned?
I think it's super important as a woman. The idea of being able to take care of yourself, manage your own life, it allows you to be more of a independent partner with someone. But also, for me, like because of the changes in my life that I've seen, I have a personal mandate to put wealth into the hands of women and artists. Like, that's who I target. That's who I'm talking to. That's who I'm bringing this information to. The people that I'm really bringing into your open classes and your live classes. And so far, all of my friends that have signed up have been women. And then I have a friend of mine who he's really looking at like getting involved to help take care of his mother and his family. Because I think that if you really change wealth, put wealth in the hands of women and artists, the way they handle money is different. The way they come to the responsibility about money. I also feel like women make really great traders. You know?
Do. They really do.
They really do. They're very like clear. They understand like especially the women that I'm specifically working with, you know, they're women who run their households, their family households, and all the bills and dealing with the kids and knowing where that money's going and knowing that they can generate income to help take care of that bill, and that it makes their whole family more comfortable, because then it's less pressure on their husbands to make the money and get the jobs and stuff. So I feel like when you can put money into the hands of, you know, women and artists, the way they're going to spend it is just going to be different, more holistic. They spend it more looking at the whole of their lives and the people around them. In fact, sometimes I have trouble being like, spend the money on yourself, spend a little bit on yourself, you know, because they always want to spend it on other people
the kids
first,
and other people. Correct.
So there's a real sense of like community, and I just feel like if we move wealth into the hands of women and artists, like our whole society could look different. It could really change.
There would definitely be a shift that is very needed. Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to get personal with you here. We have talked about your money, but you're single. Okay. And you're doing very well for yourself in the stock market. Your money is going to grow.
Yes.
Is it harder for you to date?
Yes.
Do you think about success and money in a partnership?
Yes. It's yes. Oh my gosh, it's so much. It's really harder to date.
Okay, so explain that to the audience when you're doing well as a trader and investor and now you're out in the dating world. What are the challenges that go through your mind?
Well, I tend to pick up on a lot of like negativity around like money or finance or the struggle, or, you know, there's like people who echo this idea that like wealth is greed, or, well, you can't really do it for the money. And I'm like, well, money is important. You know, you still have to be able so I feel like I'm very sensitive to people having a lot of like negative money belief. Like I feel like I can hear their money beliefs, like these big, like flashing like lights and like, watch out, you know, because if they have negative beliefs about money, then like,
how are they going to be in a relationship with
me,
you?
right? I'm like, I'm like, I don't know if I can date someone who doesn't have a stock account. Right. Oh no, what am I going to do now? You know, because this was not anything I ever thought of before. And I've dated men that were very wealthy before in my life, but I just never really thought about wealth as being a component of the relationship. But now that I'm at a time in my life where like I'm looking at really partnership, and I feel like I understand money and I have so much more to bring to the table with that like I don't think, and because it has become something that's so important to me and is such a source of joy, that I feel like if I didn't have someone who could share this with me, who I could discuss this stuff with, who wasn't like into it or involved, then I don't know what we would talk about.
Well, here's my belief. First of all, the universe will always take care of you, because the universe will always make sure that like attracts like. So your ideal partner is probably on their way to you. But you had to go through a transformation first so that you could be like them. They would be like you, and you two would find each other.
Yeah.
Even if that's not true.
I'm hoping.
I like to believe
I know, but like I'd like to go to bed tonight thinking that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I have a choice. We talk about money beliefs. I have found that to be a very powerful concept to learn how to embrace.
Well, also it's interesting because I definitely noticed a change with my friendships, my relationships when I first started working with the stock market and changing my ideas about wealth and really looking at my own beliefs. You become so much more aware of other people's beliefs. And there's just friends of mine who've really been able to come along the ride and really be like also inspired. And we've been able to like really move finances into our dialogue. Because I realized before, like I would never talk about finances at all with anyone ever because I feel like people don't talk about money, especially artists. They don't talk about money or how much they're making. And if you talk too much about how much money you're making, then you're bragging. You're making other people feel bad. There's like this really weird thing about art and money that is so like that's not a good
that is a
situation,
whole show.
Right? Yeah,
that is a whole show that we'll do.
But I noticed that there were friends of mine who I just don't see as much anymore. Like nothing happened in the friendship, but I can't get on board with people, this idea of like the struggle that I'm like, well, no, there's something better because I for a while was like feeling really guilty that I'm like that I'm doing so well and that I'm able to take care of myself in a way that I'm like, I'm not really struggling actually. And I'm not really like in love with this idea of struggling anymore either. And so like, does that make me a bad person? Like it was like a weird thing. But now I feel like now the people in my life, I talk about my finances openly. Like if someone wants to know, like I'll open my account. I'll be like, this is how much money I have. This is my trades. And this, if they want to know like what, I'll sit down and I'll like explain it to them and whatever. So I'm like, yes, let's bring this dialogue out. Like, let's talk about these things. And just seeing that change in my friendships, I just can't imagine like bringing in like an intimate partner in my life who didn't have like a wealthy mindset.
That is correct. Like always attracts like. Now, you have some advice that you give people who want to start trading. You say start small, $5,000, right?
Yeah. Okay. Because I started with $9,000.
Okay.
Because I had a little windfall, and I was like, okay, I had this windfall, and if I lost all of it, I would just be back where I was before. So this is fine.
Okay.
And I feel like some people. I feel like the biggest fear is that I'm going to lose all my money.
Yes.
And so starting small is fine. Just enough that you can actually buy some investments and have some positions to stabilize your account, and also one trade.
Yes.
Just one trade, just to sell one call.
Exactly.
Just to see what it is.
Yes.
Just to go through that process. You know what I mean? And then you'll be like, oh. Next thing you know, you'll be like, oh, I want another $3,000 in that account. Oh, I want another $5,000 in that account. You know what I mean? But just start with just like one contract.
You subscribe to the notion of don't buy the stock if you don't understand the story.
Yeah.
Okay, meaning if you have no idea how that company makes money, don't trade that stock.
Do not trade that stock.
Okay, why?
Yeah. Because again, it comes down to, first of all, you could really be cruising for a bruising on that, because if you don't understand how they're making their money, then you can't determine how do you determine whether or not they're a good date? How do you determine whether or not they're part of your portfolio or your target? If something does happen in the stock and it goes down, like Disney went down recently, and so it's Disney.
Right.
Like, I'm not worried about Disney.
Absolutely.
They're coming back. You know what I mean? So you have to know the story, know how they're making money. And how can you decide whether or not you feel like it's a good fit for you if you don't understand their income?
Right.
Or something happens in the European market and you don't understand how they influence each other. So I think it's really important, or you don't understand their co-relationships. So you have to understand it, I think, for you to be able to feel like you can take the ride as the stock moves.
And you're a huge fan of collecting dividends.
Yes, I am.
Why is that?
All of my life has been like stocks with dividends, dividends. But other than that, it just makes so much sense because like a dividend stock, it's more stable. The odds of it going to zero are really low because as soon as, the yield goes up as the stock price goes down, and so they're stable. A lot of the dividend paying stocks there's a lot of institutional money in them. So like that feels stable. And also you're getting paid just to hold the stocks.
Just to wait. That's easy.
Just to wait.
Right.
And I mean, if you're in a position and just holding the stock, you get it. But even if you're in a covered call, if you have the stocks during your call, you get the dividend.
By default. Isn't that great?
Like, just, you know what I mean? Be like, all right, I'll take them. Yes, please. Yes. And I think that's a big thing about wealth is that you have to be like, yes, I'll take the money. Yes, give me more money. Yes, it's okay.
Absolutely.
I'll bring it in. Yes. And knowing that like, these little, even if it's you just have a small position and you're like, they add up, you know what I mean? If all your stocks have dividends, then over the year, like that's significant amount of money.
That sure is. And that's more of that residual income that we love so much.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you've been absolutely fabulous to come in here and drop your words of wisdom. And I know that they have inspired someone.
I hope so.
So for that, I thank you. And I'm going to ask you right now while we're on camera, you're going to come back and see us here?
Absolutely.
All right. You've done the podcast,
Yes.
Wealthy Investor TV. I don't know what's next. I need to produce a movie or something and put you in it.
I don't know. Well, I'm supposed to revisit our podcast to tell you like where I've been.
Oh, that's
now,
right.
You
You're
know,
supposed
because
to.
it's the first year, right?
Yeah,
So
well-
I have to redo the podcast, and then we can do a film. And
Yes.
Maybe a series.
Yeah, it's television series, a Broadway
Yeah.
show. We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
make like
yeah.
a whole thing of your whole journey here.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, one thing at a time. You'll come back and see us again?
Yes.
Thank you, Carrie. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Tyrone.
That's going to do it for another episode of Wealthy Investor TV. I'm Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, and I'll see you right back here next time. Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, and I know something about you. You're always wondering what stock should you trade and what stock should you invest in. That's why you can follow my trades every single week at witradeschool.com. You see, at WI Trade School, I help people just like you make money in the stock market. Whether the market goes up, goes down, or stay the same. And one of the benefits of becoming a WI Trade School member is I'll answer your trading questions every single week in my video blog. Now, the best thing about WI Trade School, you have access to it 24 hours a day as long as you have an internet connection. So log on to witradeschool.com or click below and I'll see you there. It's time for me to help you make money in the stock market right now. Wait, don't go so fast. Make sure you click the subscribe button below. If you want to see more Wealthy Investor TV and hot stock tips from me, the Wealthy Investor, subscribe to my channel right now. That way you'll automatically get a notification when I post a new video right here. You see the subscribe button? Don't be shy. Click it now. All right.